don't want to record an entire show, only to have it not actually record?
Oh, no, please
No,
don't.
no.
That would be
Okay,
so
not
bad.
today. Not today. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Says live there. All right. I see us there. Perfect. Okay. Yes,
All
go.
right, we are indeed live
Yes.
on the tube of the U.
Perfect. Okay. Are you ready?
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 All right. Welcome to episode 9 of the TCCG Roundtable. That's right, we're your hosts, dragonrider and Itachi, joined this week by our special guest, RonMexico. How's it going?
Hey, it's going great, guys. Thanks for having me here.
Run. Real quick, before we jump in, just real quick, tell everybody where Ron Mexico comes from. It's the best thing ever. Just you gotta tell it. You gotta
All
tell
right.
everybody.
So, sports reference from like 19 years ago or something. So, anyway, years and years back, Michael Vick used this name, Ron Mexico, to stay in hotel rooms. And I thought it was the most ridiculous thing ever. I wound up making it my username. And I've had this as my username for far too long. Tells you a little bit about how old I am too, but just absolutely absurd and loved it. So I've stuck with Ron Mexico for a long time because of that.
And what is your actual first name?
Oh, my actual first name is Mike.
And
So
what on a scale of like 1 to 10, with 10 being very often, how often are you called Ron in your like in your
I
life?
mean, like obviously in real life nobody calls me Ron, but
Right.
I literally always everyone calls me Ron. It started to create a little bit of an identity crisis where it's like I have a second name, which is actually Ron, and like everyone I interact with in an online space will call me Ron because it's an easy way to abbreviate, and I just automatically respond to it. So, yeah, I mean, online, pretty much Ron is my name now.
Yeah, that's crazy. So if in public somebody's like Ron, do you like you
Not
like
not
turn
yet.
around?
Not yet.
No.
Fortunately, I haven't gotten to that point yet. Fingers crossed.
I love that you say yet, though, like you're just expecting it to
It's
happen
like
at some
at some point,
One of
point.
at
these
some point
days
I'm
it
gonna be
might.
Ron.
Oh, that's great.
All right, I had to ask. I'm sorry.
Solid.
That's okay. Well, that's the beginning of our little mini interview that we like to do with our guests. So now that we know the history of your like username there, how about can you tell us like the history of card games for you? What got you into cards? What kind of card games have you played? And what do you do involving card games, or what have you done?
Okay, sure, yeah. So again, gonna show my age a little bit because all the way back in like 2003, I don't know if anybody followed World Series of Poker back then, but there was a guy
Yes.
named Chris Moneymaker who was just like playing online poker in like small dollar events, and he wound up actually getting a qualifier and winning the entire World Series of Poker for like millions of dollars, and it created this massive poker craze in America for quite some years. And my brother got swept up in it, and he's my older brother, so if he did something, I followed right along. I was like 14, I think, at the time that I like got into playing poker. And I got obsessed with it like really early on. Started like buying poker books, reading everything I could about them, getting obsessed with playing poker, and that was like ultimately like where all of my love of card games came from. And then
Mm,
I kind of cooled it on the whole card game thing for a while. The swings of poker are a little crazy. If you're not like willing to just dive into like risking a lot of money, you're probably never going
yeah.
to make it big, and you're probably going to go broke at some point, even if you try to dive in. I didn't feel like mentally ready to handle that, so I just kind of let it take a back seat. But I never lost the love of card games in general.
Hmm.
And also, me and my brother, we used to play Blizzard games all the time growing up, like StarCraft, Warcraft, all that stuff. World of Warcraft when it came out, I didn't play as much as him, but like we played a bit here and there. And then, lo and behold, Hearthstone comes along, and it was like the actual like combination of everything that makes me the most obsessed with the thing that it could possibly be.
Yep.
It wasn't even on my radar. And my brother's like, hey, you should try this. And
Caught you.
that was like 7 years ago. And I've just been like totally into Hearthstone ever since.
Sick.
I also dabble in a little bit of Marvel Snap now, but that's basically it. It's mostly Hearthstone. I play a little bit of Snap though. Snap's
Little
fun.
snap. Little snappy snap. All right.
Yeah. So you do quite a bit though. You said you dabble, but like, I mean, for Hearthstone, you're streaming, you're doing tournaments, like you're doing a lot of stuff. Is there something that kind of made you want to really dive in like super deep into more of that competitive and the content side of Hearthstone rather than just playing it?
Absolutely. So I got a shout out to probably my favorite Hearthstone community, which is THL, Team Hearth League, like semi-competitive thing that a lot of actually really incredibly good players gather. We have a lot of like current Grandmaster players that are playing in THL right now too, and it wasn't quite that way when I started, but it keeps ramping up, and it created like this really cool, interesting atmosphere of competitiveness and ways to just increasingly get better and better at a competitive format and working through tournaments and everything. Kind of sparked my competitive desire, and I wanted to see if I could make it. And I started, playing in qualifiers too. Like already had a good base of how tournaments went. I wound up placing in some. I wound up winning a few qualifiers. Made it to some Masters tours. Um, Actually, I haven't had quite the results that I'd love to see yet at a Masters tour, but I did break even, which is placing in the money. So I got to cash at a Masters tour. And not too long ago, June, was it this year? I don't know. Time is an illusion. But June, it was some June. I think it was probably this year that I went to DreamHack Dallas, and I won the tournament. So that was pretty sweet.
That's sick.
It was this year, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One
I
up in
know.
me there.
Everything blends together.
It really does.
The
Yes.
time from the last 2 years has been just like
Yeah.
ridiculous. 2020 to 2022, it feels like everything happened in the same year. It's all been like 1 year.
Yeah. That's super weird.
Yeah, it's
Weird times.
simultaneously been like 1 year and also somehow like 30 years. I don't
It's
know. Yeah.
Yeah. Naturally, like because of COVID, pretty much like we all had to stop doing as many in-person events and all that stuff. And go figure, I go to DreamHack Dallas and I came back with COVID. So nice
nice.
little side effect there. I got first place and COVID.
To be fair, all right, when I went to DreamHack Anaheim, which was in early 2020, this was before COVID like became the pandemic for us. I'm pretty sure I came back with COVID. Pretty sure.
You tell me you're a patient zero for your area? Is that what's going on?
That's exactly the nomenclature I was about to use. I'll probably no, because Mardi Gras. I was living in Louisiana at the time, so Mardi Gras was happening. Mardi Gras created all the patient zeros.
Oh,
like,
true.
They were all like, "No one go to Mardi Gras," and everyone went to Mardi Gras. And everyone got sick.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. Oh, well, Itachi, do you have any other questions for Ron?
No. So I usually ask about like your proficiency and your accomplishments and stuff like that. So like you kind of explained that when you talked about like the Masters tours, how you haven't necessarily gotten the results that you want to know what that feels like. You got the DreamHack win though. That's super awesome. I hope to see you get really, really far in a Masters tour. And I know that I've been at your side for at least one THL championship, which, by the way, was an absolute demolition of that league. We destroyed that league.
That was sweet. That was a great season.
We killed that league. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I can't wait to see you. I know that like if you keep playing, you'll end up there. So can't wait for it to happen.
Appreciate you. Here's hoping.
Heck
Fourth
yes.
and inches.
Yeah.
Going for it.
Awesome. Well, that's kind of all we have for our quick little mini interview there. We'll have links for all of Ron's socials where you can check out like his stream and all of that in the YouTube description and in the show notes for those of you listening on audio versions. But I guess we can start jumping into news. And please, if either of you had anything else, I feel like this was kind of a lighter news week.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's just, I think it's because, I mean, well, the news segment is pretty small, but then you look at the competitive and organized play section that's like, chunky section because we've talked about it. This time of year is like all of the world championships. So that's kind of the focus of a lot of the card games this time of year. But the couple of things that I did find news wise, at least that we didn't cover last week in terms of some like, uh, you know, set releases and things like that is first of all, Marvel Snap. We did mention last week they did win the mobile best mobile game title at the Game Awards. But now, afterwards, they are actually giving everyone 1,000 credits and a random variant to celebrate that. So, if you are playing Marvel Snap or interested, you log in and you can get some free stuff to celebrate that.
That's
Did
pretty
either of
sweet.
you log in? I know Ron, you said you were playing, and I know Itachi's been. I haven't logged in a couple
Yeah,
of weeks.
I actually logged in today and I got my free credits and a random variant. It was kind of nice.
You even tell you what happened. So you know how they started the collectors tokens things or whatever.
Hmm.
I did not have Wave or Wong, two like really popular cards in Marvel Snap. And back to back, I got Wave and Wong, and now I just have not been able to stop playing
Feels
because
good.
I also had Sarah. So like uh the decks, like the Silver Surfer deck is crazy. It's so fun. So much fun.
That's amazing. I feel like I have like no cards, so I quit playing. So
There's so many that
there's
just
that.
don't matter. It's so weird because once you get to pull three, there's so many cards that just don't matter, and it's frustrating because like every collector's cash isn't just a card. It could be like more credits, and you're like, I don't need these credits. I want cards, and yeah, it can be frustrating. I could see where people would get hung up with the collection piece of it. I got extremely lucky with my collection three because I know that people that are in like the 1500s and don't have some of the cards that I have. So um, always lucky, I guess.
There you go. To be fair, I think
Agreed.
that's probably one of the most valid complaints about Marvel Snap is their collection system. Like you don't have any control really over what cards you
Hmm.
get. I mean, you could spend money and then you could get more ways to like get gold and more credits and then
But the thing is that like
progress things, get random things.
you're still, even if you spend a ton of money, you're still pretty gate kept by the fact that you have to play to level up, like to increase your collection level, regardless of the amount of money that you spend.
True.
So that's a little gatekeepy, little gotcha y, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine if you're not like heavily invested in it. Like I haven't spent a dime on the game. I'm at a little over collection 1,000, like
Hmm.
1,100 maybe.
That's where I'm at. I'm
But
1140 something.
like all I do is just play dailies. You know,
Yeah,
they have their daily missions. They refresh. I go play those dailies, and then I stop playing. And like I get enough like fun Marvel Snap gameplay, and then when there's no more incentive and there's not really much else I can do except grind, I just don't. And then I wait
yeah, and
until they refresh, and then I play again.
I think that's fine. I think that like I talked about this last week where reaching infinite isn't really a thing that I think I'm gonna be trying to do. Like I play a relatively decent amount. I do like my dailies and stuff, and I usually finish weeklies the same day. Don't judge. Um, but like beyond that, I'm pretty sedentary. I'm not like I like to try stuff. I like to have fun during the time that I'm gonna play. I'm not really trying to like get to infinite because like I think I got to rank 50, and then every month you reset back 30 levels. So I went from like 50 to 20, and then I got like back up to 40, and then to 10, and now I'm just like whatever. Like I just play for fun, and then I have
Yeah.
the fun, and then if something competitive comes up, then I'll enter grinder mode. But other than that, it's just like a pastime. Because I mean, the games are so
Yeah.
quick. You could just like play a couple, and then you're like done.
Yeah.
True.
I think I was trying to do that, and then I think for me, like I just started to get to the point where even just logging in to do dailies, it just started to feel like a chore instead of me like having fun with it. And I was
Hmm.
like, ugh. And then yeah, I was having that same kind of problem. I was like, I'm only getting to like 40, and then I feel like I can't even try new decks to, work on my rank because I can't get them because of the collection, and it felt like it was like looping out on itself, and I was just like, I think
And if
I'm gonna stop for now.
if you don't know what's going on, it can be really like feels bad, especially when you're like, oh, I know what my deck does, and I think that this is a winning turn, and then like it's the other deck does some like nonsense. And you're like, wait, what? I didn't know somebody's deck could do that.
Remember the first time you played against Killmonger before you knew it was a card that existed?
I got this. I'm playing like Kazarzu, all these one drops.
You're like,
and
there's no way he could beat me.
He's
right?
not even close. I'm snapping 8 cubes, send them my way, and then I get destroyed.
Oh,
and I
there
have
they all
not
go.
played Kazar one time since that. Since the first time I got Killmongered, I have not put Kazar in a deck. Not once.
I have still played a little bit of Zoo even after seeing Killmonger, but I ran like armor as one of the things, and like tried to load up one spot with like the safe stuff, and then the other stuff is not one cost. So, but it's if you don't know what's going on, or if you have like a limited collection, like Dragon Rider's talking about, it can feel like a vicious cycle where you're in a grind, and then like the games aren't fun to play. So why would you grind non-fun games in order to maybe get something that could make it fun later? Like that's just like, I'm gonna stop. So it's like that happens.
I think when you finish Collection Pool 2, there's enough variety to like play the game and test out a bunch of different stuff.
True.
And then like you just have to like muddle your way through the third pool.
Yeah, because I think I was at, I don't know, somewhere between 520 and 550 collection level. So I was already into pool 3, but yeah, that's when it kind of was just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, clearly it's doing incredibly, incredibly well, especially for only having been out, what is today?
2 months.
December 14th. Yeah, it launched, or 15th. It launched December 18th.
October 18th.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, today is December 15th. It launched October 18th. There we go. I can talk. Words are hard.
I mean, that is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That, they've gotten the like reaction that they've had in such a short amount of time. The game is very fun and addicting.
Game of the year seems like a lot, though. Like,
less than 2 months.
Best mobile game over the course of 2022. You're gonna say that no other game that has been out longer. I don't know.
New strategy, always release in October.
That's like a song coming out in like October and then winning the Grammys in November. That just seems like no way, right?
I mean, I don't know. It could happen if there weren't any other things that seemed better than it in the preceding bunch of months.
For like the Grammys, you have to submit your song by a certain time. So like it couldn't be like 1 month before the Grammys. And so,
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know Grammy rules. I could not care less.
I mean,
I don't know.
Weird that I know that. Like, who cares, right? Like, I don't really care. I just know that because I heard people talking about it in reference to Snap winning so soon.
Itachi is a Grammys diehard fan, noted.
Expert.
Confirmed.
All the awards. Actually, I used to be a big award show person. I would be the person who, like, when an award show came on, I'd get on Twitter and like live tweet with all the people who are watching award shows. Luckily, I stopped doing that well before Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, because I would have still been tweeting to this day about how I would have went on stage and tore that man's family apart.
We gotta bring this back. We gotta bring back Itachi live tweeting award shows.
No, you don't do this. Also, don't go search my Twitter for like BET awards or anything like that. There is some wild stuff going on in that place.
That was just like you literally just said, don't go check this specific thing. Here's what to search for.
Here's the link, by the way.
Because that's not the correct award show. It's a different one. I just said that one.
Okay,
It was a throw the whole time.
Okay, all right. I see how. All right. Playing the mind games there. Okay.
Sneaky on the fly. Where did we get? Why are we on the Grammys?
we went way out left field.
We got to Grammys from Marvel Snap. It tracks. It's fine.
Well,
they won an award. Grammys are awards.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's shift gears a little bit here. Cover the rest of this news. The next piece that I have here is that Magic has announced and have started doing reveals for their next expansion, Phyrexia. All will be one. The set it's set to release on MTG Arena and Magic Online on February 7th in 2023. And then the global tabletop release is February 10th. So a couple days after. Of course, the weekend before is like their pre-release weekend, just like normal. But that's happening. The other news, I guess, like we know of some things that are coming. It's like the announcement of the announcement, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like we know that they're going to be announcing stuff for the Hearthstone esports system for next year.
Yeah.
But we don't have any of the info on it yet. So like we can't really cover that news. Like Itachi's going to cover it in a minute for the competitive stuff, but also kind of in the same vein as the Hearthstone is Eternal is also doing their World Championship, and they'll be talking about their next coming set that's going to be launching in January. So like we know that's coming, but like we don't have any of that information yet. So we'll cover a lot of that news next week. But we also have some other exciting news, is that here at the TCCG Roundtable, we have now been approved and are affiliated with Inked Gaming. So Yay! It's a pretty sweet site. You can use our link to you directly support us, but when you go to Inked Gaming, I mean, you can get, there's like, first of all, you can do custom stuff, which is just fantastic, but you can get play mats, there's like dice, you can get, card sleeves, all sorts of stuff relating to just cards in general, which is, of course, what we talk about here. And it's super cool. They actually do have a subscription box thing, which I know Itachi and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Was like, I just found this. This is super cool. Like, I didn't know something like this existed. I've heard of like the monthly subscription boxes, of course. Like, they're getting really popular for a lot of stuff, but this one is TCG themed. So we're gonna do a giveaway to celebrate this.
Yep. So to celebrate, like Don said, us getting affiliated with Inked Gaming. First of all, I want to plug Inked Gaming. Your game, your style. Inked Gaming is a leading supplier of custom and pre-designed gaming gear, including playmats, mouse pads, dice bags, and more. It's top quality, fully customizable. You can personalize your own gaming in your style. It is machine washable, free domestic shipping, and it's extremely durable product as well. So we're going to have a giveaway for a 1-month box of the essentials. So what it's going to be is it's going to send you some supplies for whatever game you play. So if you tell us you play Yu-Gi-Oh or Digimon or Flesh and Blood or MTG, whatever it is, it's going to send you a $30 box. It'll be 1 month paid on us. You don't have to cancel anything. It'll just be a gifted box. If you want to go back, you'll have the link below and you can use our affiliate link to do so. But the way that you enter this giveaway for this 1 month subscription box is you tweet us at our Twitter handle, which will be linked below, which is TCCG Roundtable, with the code PRIEST. Just tweet us PRIEST and you will be entered into the giveaway. You have to be following us, and obviously you will have to have heard this code. I say PRIEST is the code because RonMexico, aka Mike Mexico, hates PRIEST. Hates. So what I also want you guys to do, and this, if you do this, I'll enter you 4 times. If you go to Ron's channel and you accumulate enough of his channel points to make him play priest, I'll give you 4 entries off rip. Straight up off
Literally
rip.
not
And
possible.
we will
Literally not possible.
we will figure out a way. I'll hack his channel. I'll make his subscription points available for priest. He's not going to turn down a loyal follower. He's definitely going to play that priest deck. We're going to make him play Boon Priest without the Sunwell.
Oh,
Which we'll get into that more later. But yeah, so we will draw for that on, we would say next week's episode is when you'd like to draw, or would you like to draw before? We could probably draw before.
I was thinking even a little bit after that, just to give people time to listen to the audio version and see if they wanted to. So probably like a week and a half or 2 weeks.
So we can say we'll draw for the week of New Year's. So the 30th, I think, is the day. So the December 30th episode, which will be leading right into New Year's, will be our last episode of the year. We'll do that drawing. For January, you will get your Inked Essentials supply drop box. So that'll be awesome. Can't wait to see everyone tweeting priest. Also tag RonMexico at RonMexico in those priest tags as well. So we'll get that flowing. Let's fill up his inbox with priest.
this is my nightmare.
I had no idea what the code word was going to be either. So as soon as Itachi said that, anybody that's watching, you can go back to the VOD as well. I just started dying in my chair because I knew.
She cackled.
Not surprised. Do a little trolling.
Oh,
gotta love it.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so yeah, that is the exciting news. But as we move into 2023, definitely would be amazing to help us out if you could use our link. And if you want to use that now, it's a great time to get some gifts or as new things. I'm gonna use it because I want to get some cool like dice and dice bags and stuff, and I feel fancy when I go to some like local Flesh and Blood tournament. Like, look at my dice bag, like I'm a pro. That's what's gonna happen. Yep. And then I'll probably lose and I'll be sad, but at least I'll have cool looking stuff.
That's me. I'm definitely going to get at least a 1-month subscription. I want to see what's going on. I want to see what happens. I am a dice person. Like, I love having the cool dice. I have these Ultra Pro, like these are like magnetic dice. They come in a little magnetic case and like they don't move unless you like tip the thing over, and they're super cool. And then in my calculator case, because I don't have a dice bag, I just have, in Yu-Gi-Oh, you like carry a calculator case. So I have like all these dice just like lined up. These are all like pink dice. So I'm huge on accessories,
Nice.
if you couldn't tell. Love accessories.
Heck yes. But that's kind of all I've got this week for new stuff. So you want to take it away, Itachi, for the competitive and organized play?
Yes, indeed. So we'll talk about last week. December 8th through 10th was the Legends of Runeterra World Championship with a $200,000 prize pool and 16 competitors. Arag Orin crowned champion after defeating Teddy 3-1-4 in the finals with a score of 2-0. Why would he do that to Teddy like that, my man? So sorry. Hearthstone World Championship is this weekend, December 16th through 18th. It's also going to be 16 players. It's going to be broadcast each day starting at 3 a.m. Eastern time, so super, super early in the morning. I'll be up. I'll watch a little of it, and we'll talk some more about it today. So we'll link that, the Hearthstone Blizzard link in the description of the podcast. Also, Eternal World Championship is this weekend. 3-format play, kind of like the Magic World Championship was, which we talked about with our current reigning Magic World Champion last week. So throughout the broadcast stream, they're going to be doing card reveals for their next set, which will be releasing in January. So we're going to release that as well. And last weekend, we had a Yu-Gi-Oh! What's called a remote duel YCS, where it's a championship level event, national level event, where you sit at your computer. And it's kind of like old school. We used to do this on Skype, where you would get on Skype with your friends and you would play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because you couldn't go to your friend's house. Well, that's kind of what it is, except it's a whole tournament of that. And you just have to hope that you're not being cheated. I played in that event. I dropped on day one after going 4-3. Usually they cut to top 32. There's usually 500 plus players. In an in-person event, it'd probably be about 1,500 players, but this event, there were like 500. I went 4-3. I dropped after my third loss. It was a 10-round Swiss event, so I couldn't make top 32, so I just cut my losses. This tournament went really long. For an online tournament, you would think that it would have gone very quickly, but it was going very slow. We started at noon Eastern, and I finished my round 7 at 11:30 p.m. And we started at
Holy
noon,
crap.
and they still had another round to play after I had finished my round 7. For day 1. They played 8 rounds day 1, and then 2 more rounds day 2, and then they cut to top 32 after that. A friend of mine, Christian Urena, he won, or I won't say a friend of mine, an acquaintance of mine, Christian Urena won with the same deck that I played, which is called the Shizu Tearlaments. We both had a very similar idea of what to play. I was a little ill practiced, so I made some errors that I was able to catch, like as I was reviewing my games and my play. I was able to catch myself making some errors and see where I could improve differently with a little bit more practice. So that leads to me, I guess I could talk about on the podcast as well. I'm going to be leaving Hearthstone and Marvel Snap for 2023, as well as the other games that I play, to be pursuing Yu-Gi-Oh! Full time. It'll be my solo game. I have not played a solo game in since 2013, before Hearthstone came out. I think was the last time I only dedicated myself to one game, and that was, coincidentally, 2013 was the same year that I was one trap card away from going to the World Championship in Yu-Gi-Oh! So we're gonna try to run that back with sole focus on Yu-Gi-Oh! And see if I can't overcome that one trap card and get to Worlds.
Love it.
So
Yes,
I'd say the
that's gonna be
tournament
awesome.
went good.
Heck yeah. When you can sit there and say, I haven't even played this in a while and I still feel like I did really well, like I was on the same line of thinking as the person that won the whole thing, like
For sure.
yeah, and then it motivates you to say, I am literally like dropping everything else next year to pursue this, then
For sure.
yeah, I would say the tournament went pretty well for sure.
So the thing about Yu-Gi-Oh that I enjoy about it is that I've played for so long that I have a vast knowledge of the card pool from before, like a lot of people who play now. So like one of the cards that was included in the Champions deck and also in my deck is a very old card that hasn't been like reprinted or re-released so in a long time. So you wouldn't know it if you were pretty new to the game within the last 3 or 4 years. But I knew it, and he also knew it. So having that vast card knowledge from like older in the game and being able to apply it now with practice, I think gives me a distinct edge over a lot of competitors. Plus, like the aspect of fundamentally playing the game, I think I have a really, really strong grip on. I mean, I've been playing it since I was a kid, so we're gonna see.
Well, I think that that's a good segue into our main topic, and I think if you don't mind, I'll just kind of lead in because I think you two will probably take most of the conversation. I'll kind of try to just ask some like
What?
guiding questions and stuff along the way. But so we do have the Hearthstone World Championships coming up this weekend. I think they're actually starting because, like Itachi said, of the time zone is probably like what is it? It's starting like 6 hours from
3. Yeah, so
recording or
3
something.
a.m.
So
So
like,
Pretty soon.
7
yeah.
hours.
So
I will be awake.
yeah. Well, we're gonna have kind of talk about the decks, the lineups that are brought, and maybe some of the card choices if there are. But definitely would like to have both of your thoughts on like, kind of the reasonings as well. I know Nathan talked about this as well last week, but like reasons why, if there's a certain card choice or a certain way that a deck might be built slightly different than a similar version, like I would really love to hear your guys' thoughts on like why are they built a little different or why would somebody want to include that? Is it leaning into a certain like ban philosophy or did they build it because of what they were expecting to see with the pool like of decks overall, the overall tournament meta? Just kind of walk through that. Now, I do want to preface this conversation. If you aren't as familiar with Hearthstone, or like Hearthstone tournaments, they are a bit different than other card games. In other card games, typically the tournaments are like you bring one deck and you might have a sideboard or something like that. You can change out a couple of cards. But in Hearthstone, the most common tournament that they use is where you basically bring 4 different decks. I won't get into like the specifics, but you bring 4 different decks, and then typically you ban one of those 4 decks from your opponent, and then have to get a win with the other 3. So it's not like a best of 3 with a single deck. It's like a best of 5 usually with 4 different decks and a ban. So
Hmm.
a lot more matchup variety. You have to know a lot more matchups and all that kind of stuff with the way that Hearthstone does these tournaments. And can you guys just start talking us through the what are the decks? Like, let's start there. Like, what are the classes that were brought and the overall like deck archetypes?
So across the 16 players, there are 6 classes out of the 10 that we have represented. Those are Demon Hunter, Mage, Priest, Rogue, Paladin, and Druid. No one else is playing a different class. Throughout that, Quest Demon Hunter is far and away I'm pretty sure it's the only Demon Hunter deck that's being played this weekend.
Correct.
Is Quest Demon Hunter. There's a little bit of variation between Aggro Druid and then the Celestial Druid. There's Ping Mage, which we were a little surprised to see. There is a few different paladins. There's like Dragon Paladin, and there's Jailer Paladin, and then there's the Pasco is playing it's
A couple of
Paladin
pure
that, like,
paladins. It's just
it's like
pure. It's
pure.
all class cards only because it has a
Yeah.
payoff with the Countess.
Yeah, it's the Countess, like Blood Crusader. Play your Countess on 6, play all your invitations on 7 deck, which is, it's pretty powerful. I played a lot of it. So there's a few different rogues, and then there's Boon Priest, and then there's the XL Priests. Those are the ones that are going to make the weekend go long for some players. But what do you do? You do what you can. There's one thing that I did note. We, in my testing with one of my teams, we found a potential bug where if your deck is empty, Reno Jackson was not triggering. I don't know if that bug is fixed or patched or whatever, but I do know that Habugabu is playing Jailer Paladin with Reno Jackson. So hopefully that bug is resolved and that's not something that he ends up running into. Because imagine destroying your deck with Jailer and then playing Reno thinking that's going to heal you, and then it just is not. So
surely they wouldn't let that happen at Worlds. Hopefully, that's been fixed. But if it hasn't been, Habugabu is almost certainly the only player that it could happen to.
Yeah.
Then again, it's possible that any priest could steal the Reno, and there's a scenario, or any rogue could steal the Reno. Well, not any rogue, but multiple rogues could steal that and then try to play it in a very unlikely sequence of events and have that happen. But the most likely thing would be only Habu is at risk of a Reno bug ruining his day.
Yep. So I was going to check the known issues to see if Reno. No.
Also, I'm kind of in shambles over here that like the class I dislike the most in Hearthstone was brought by all 16 players.
Did everyone bring priest?
Literally priest across the board. Everyone brought priest, and everyone brought rogue. Is a pretty unusual thing to happen in Worlds. Metas often like solidify one direction or another, and there's kind of a clear pecking order of what is the top tier decks, and pretty much everyone's going to be bringing the top tier stuff because they don't want to have something that's weaker unless they specifically identify like a targetable weakness from one of those, and they can bring that type of lineup that beats what they anticipate. But it's very early in a new meta. The expansion just released. We just had a patch like real early on after the expansion to adjust a few cards, and that was it. So the players haven't had a whole lot of time to prepare. And I think we're just seeing the results of like kind of a narrower meta in its early stages of development. There's a lot of money on the line for Worlds, and you really don't want to risk bringing like unknown quantities. So I mean, pretty much across the board, everybody agreed. Yeah, there are two different types of priests for different ways that you can go to try to compete in this meta. Both of them are very viable, and you see
Mhm.
some players going one way, some players going another way. Same with Rogue. Rogue has a few archetypes, but across the board, the class as a whole is very strong.
Yep.
And I think currently Quest Demon Hunter is probably the best deck in the format.
Yeah.
The only reason we're not seeing 16 Quest Demon Hunters is because there are no other Demon Hunter archetypes that would create like more flexibility for people. So there was probably a lot that were anticipating they're going to see Quest Demon Hunter like across the board, and they wanted to design a lineup specifically to beat that and not have the risk of losing in the mirror. So you see 3 players did not bring Quest Demon Hunter. Outside
Yep.
of that, there's just the mix of, okay, now that we've decided on these, what's the fourth? Which is
Yeah.
often
Yes.
the biggest question in
Yeah.
any
Yep.
like major Hearthstone tournament. You usually have like a top 3, but it's best of 5 with 1 ban out of your 4 decks. So you got to win with 3 of them. You know they're going to
Yep.
ban a good one. You can win with 2 good ones, but what's the not as good one that you think you can get through?
Yep.
Some players went Ping Mage, some went Aggro or Celestial or Ramp Druid, and a few with Paladin here. And that was it. No more variety than that.
Yep. And I wonder if the Ping Mage is a nod at trying to get wins versus Miracle Rogue and Priest, because Ping Mage is very good against all of those.
Absolutely, I think it is, and I think it was a really good meta call. Um, I like Bunny Hopper and Dead Draws especially for their lineups, at least for the meta. Um, Levick brought a Ping Mage, but it is actually it's first, it's not a 40 card list, and second, this Ping Mage that Levick brought is pretending that the expansion never happened at all, because it is literally the exact same 30 card list as it was in the previous expansion.
Yep.
We have KZG Yuyi is another person that brought Ping Mage, and I do like their lineup quite a bit. They might be one to watch out for too, since they're the only one that brought Mine Rogue, which is going to be pretty interesting. But to stick on the mage call, I think that might be the best one, and I've got my odds-on favorite as Dead Draw to win this tournament. If I'm going to go out on a limb here, because
Mhm.
everything that he brought feels like really well positioned against a field that looks like we're seeing here. And right down to like he's teched in his Ping Mage specifically 2 objections, the secret that counters a minion.
Yep.
It's the only secret he runs. So your opponent knows exactly what secret it is, right? So they can play around it. Well, can you really though?
Nope. Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's
Objection is
tough.
so good that even knowing exactly what it is, um, it restricts your opponent's gameplay so much. And then the 40 card control priest, the 40 card
What
rogue,
what
those are
was
things
that?
that just do nonsense.
What was that on the screen? So we're just not gonna skip past that. No, I'm joking. I did want to make a note, a call out to. It's kind of more to Donkey than anything. Hey Donkey, hopefully you catch this one. So we before the show started, we were talking about the Glory and was it Possessi decks. So our previous 2 world champions both brought Rogue. That didn't play a full concoction package, so they play just the potion belt, and that's it. So Glory plays 1 potion belt and 2 sprint, or 1 Glory plays 1 sprint and 2 potion belt, and Possessi plays the opposite. So Possessi plays 2 sprint, 1 potion belt. Other than that, their rogue deck is exactly the same, and it is labeled as rogue. Note that both of their decks do play Edwin Defies Kingpin. I would also like to point out that Zabai is playing a deck that is labeled as Edwin Rogue and does not have Edwin in the deck at all.
Seems suspicious.
It's
Yeah.
just there. It's the Possessi deck, the Possessi and Glory deck. with Ghoulish Alchemist instead of the other sprint slash potion belt. So he plays the 1 sprint, 2 potion belt, and no Edwin, except he plays Ghoulish Alchemist, which I'm a little bit confused about the exclusion of Edwin there. Maybe an oversight, maybe on purpose. I can't see a reason why you don't play Edwin in this deck, though.
I mean, I doubt it's an oversight. I have seen plenty of rogues, even in the last expansion, decide to cut Edwin in favor of Sprint, just to load up on cards rather than trying to make like a crazy buff up Edwin a lot turn, because Edwin crucially does not have stealth. So if you're playing a ton of cards in a turn, your main thing that you want to do with 4 mana is probably play Draka and get a giant weapon and hit them in the face, or you're not spending that much mana on a minion at all, and you're just playing a graveyard, or you have a graveyard already up, and then all of your cards just summon a gigantic minion that has stealth instead of, being able to be interacted with by your opponent. So like it's reasonable enough, but it is really funny that the archetype shows is Edwin Rogue on Donkey and there's no Edwin.
Yep. Thought that was interesting there. I thought the Mighty Kazakhstan Paladin was kind of interesting. It plays Anachronos. I don't know what the name of it is.
I've been going with Anachronos, but I don't know exactly
what I've been saying.
Pronunciation is either.
Can anyone explain to me what that does?
Yes. So Anachronos, you will play it, and it will remove all of the other minions off of the board, whether it's your opponent's or yours. And basically, it kind of poofs them away like the old hero used to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no death rattles go off, nothing like that. And then basically 2 turns later at the start of your turn, then all of them will be put back onto the board.
Gotcha.
In some ways, it's like a better Gigafin, and in some ways, it's like a worse Gigafin. That we've seen from Warlock, or I guess primarily Rogue, discovering Colossals and playing a Gigafin. But it's a pretty interesting control card, because you could use it to maybe just disappear a board if you have a weapon swing that could give you lethal to get through taunts or something, or you could just use it to buy yourself some time. Very crucially, it comes down on turn 7, which could buy you just enough time to play your Lightforged Cariel on 8, and all of a sudden you have double the health, essentially, when those minions come back to try to kill you. So very control-y style deck, and going in pretty hard on, I don't see a whole lot of ways this deck actually wins, outside of, okay, we've removed their stuff enough, we've survived long enough, now it's Kazakhstan time. We're gonna find some mega broken cards.
I think it's.
I was gonna say I tried a couple of games with this earlier. So it's a real small sample size, but yeah, my experience was there were maybe, if you want to put it this way, 3 win conditions of the deck. One of them is just tempo, like getting stuff on the board and being able to beat your opponent down. But I was not feeling like that was a consistent win condition, because there's a lot of decks in the meta right now that seem to just remove stuff off the board. The second is stealing a win condition with Theatar.
Yeah.
And then the third is the Kazakhstan.
I mean, technically, Astalor is kind of a win condition too. I mean, it can do 16 damage on turn 10, so you can chip away enough to set up like a 16 burst kill.
For sure.
Yeah.
If you held on to a coin. Wait, no, we don't run brand.
There's no brand.
Never mind.
I was gonna say that felt like the problem for the Astalor, is that there's not brand, so you really have to deal 16, and especially after these lists came out, like a lot of people I think started playing them, or at least similar things, on ladder, and there's a lot of XL decks as well, and things that gain armor or just keep healing. So it never really felt like I was in a position in any of the games with this deck to close out a game with that 16 damage.
I mean, I'm sure Mighty's tested this,
Oh, I'm
extensively
sure.
and
Yes.
knows better than
Yeah,
we would. But
for sure.
I am still surprised to not see Bran included in a list that runs, 2 school teachers, a theater, lots of different ways that you could take advantage of the battle cry. Even like battle vicars, you can use that to find something. If you held onto a coin, you could double the Astalor thing. I feel
Yeah.
like Bran was worthy of a 1 card inclusion, but
Yeah.
maybe even in a 40 card list, sometimes all your texts need to be there and it's just too tight.
Which,
Hmm.
kind of leads me to another question I wanted to talk to you guys about is when you're looking at card inclusions, and I mean, I think this can go, it might be a little bit different in other games, and that's what, a lot of those other card games have this kind of system with their sideboard. But what we see here is that, I mean, the spots that I'm looking at could be Bran is this double Viper, double Smothering Starfish. And these are what we kind of like to call tech cards. The Restaurant Vipers, though, I feel like are for maybe other paladins, but probably for the rogues, for those Draco weapons. And then the Starfish, probably for priests and maybe Death Rattle rogues if they were expecting that.
Hmm.
What do you guys think on that?
I think that Paladin um, does. I think that Paladin does a not so great job at cantripping cards. So like when you play your cards a lot of the times, which this deck I can see has a little bit of a notion to that, like a nod to the fact that Paladin often has this problem where like you play your cards and then you have no cards. And that's kind of my problem with these tech cards. Like you play your Restaurant Viper and then what? Right? Like I mean, you play your Smothering Starfish and then what? So I don't know. I'm scared of a 40 card deck where there's so many cards that just I play them and then I have to wait. So like Daring Drake, it's a 4 mana 5/5 rush. That's really cool. But then what? Like I don't get another card from that. Wild Pyromancer Equality, that's a great combo. It's gonna clear the board. I use 2 cards. I don't have 2 more cards. Whereas a deck like Rogue is like making concoctions. You're doing your miracle stuff, you're doing or your thief stuff, and you're like creating cards and also creating advantage. And I think that's where Paladin's missing out. It's like you can get some advantage with the things that you play because they're powerful cards, but they don't also keep you in an advantageous position once they're removed. Um, I think that tech cards in Paladin are kind of scary because of that fact. It's like you're compounding the problem instead of making it your own win condition and advancing towards your own better game state. It's just a focus on trying to stymie the opponent's game state and stop them from playing the game as well, like floodgate your opponent and then draw into your win condition and then have the mana to play your win condition or the time and the health. So that's my problem with this form of Paladin.
I mean, this specific Paladin out of any probably is afforded the ability to do that and might actually be forced to do that, and run like a tech heavy list because, I mean, realistically, your win condition is Kazakhstan. You survive
Right.
with Lightforge Carriel and you find broken duels cards that can win you the game. And all that matters is that you survive to get to that point. So, okay, 40 card list. Well, how are we going to draw our one of? Well, we've got 2 Order in the Court. So I think the entire deck would absolutely be dead without Order in the Court. But the fact that
Yeah.
exists, we reorder, we get to draw the Kazakhstan, and all of our problems go away. At least
Yeah.
that's the ideal game plan. So you run as many cards as you can that get around things that kill you, before you can get to the unstoppable win condition. I
Right.
am really concerned about this deck though because it goes so hard on that, especially against things like the Control Priest that's out there. I mean, this deck gets murdered by disruption, and there is a good amount of disruption out there. I think Mighty's going to have a pretty uphill climb with
There's
this
a
particular deck.
there's a lot with the Atar than I thought I would see. Like
Yeah,
there's
6
a
mana,
lot of
still
the Atar.
run I've been calling for Theotar to get absolutely killed for a while. But turns out the effect is so unique that people are still going to be running Theotar even at 6 mana in a lot of lists.
It is in almost every deck. Like, I mean, every lineup. There is at least one Theotar on pretty much every lineup. There's very few that don't have one.
And speaking of cards
Yeah.
that'll make you want to quit
Yeah.
playing the game, we were just hovering over one here.
There you
The
go. Yep.
Plague Spreader that's
Spreader?
been
Love that
showing
card.
up in so many priest lists.
Yeah.
This is so incredibly disruptive. And
I love it.
one of the things that Priest does best along with this card is the fact that it has a lot of ways to resurrect the Plague Spreader or re-trigger the Death Rattle. When you get to like the 8-mana hero card, it's going to re-trigger all the Death Rattles that triggered before. So you can transform your opponent's entire hand of minions in some cases into just a 4/4. And Priest, I mean, in the past, it didn't like to face 4/4s, but this kind of Priest, it's got way more than enough health and survivability that it's
Yeah.
just going to shrug off that kind of pressure from the opponent if it's just 4/4s coming down instead of
I was
abilities.
literally thinking, what a funny nod to make that a 4/4.
True.
Like the priest of old, like, we'll give you a 4/4 that we can't get rid of, but like they can definitely get rid of 4/4s now. Like it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Notice also notable in Mighty's lineup before you I know that we're like stuck on his lineup. I'm just like tearing it to pieces, but this is actually a good thing. Mighty is like the only player I think, and I'm gonna double check before I talk without knowledge. Yes, there, and I think there's only one more of this type of deck. No, okay, so goes back to Dead Draw being my favorite. Dead Draw and Bunny Hopper being my favorite lineup. Mighty also includes Mass Polymorph, 2 copies, Mass Polymorph in the deck. The own Mighty and Dead Draw and Bunny Hopper all include 2 copies of Mass Polymorph along with Gray Sage Parrots. There will be no boards built against, no weapon formed against them shall prosper because they're just going to mass polymorph you 4 times.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely applaud the decision to bring the 40 card ping mages for the players in the field. Not sure if Levik's decision for regular 30 card last expansion ping mage is going to work out, but the other ones like Bunny Hopper, Dead Draw, KCG, Yuyi, and Mighty, they're all bringing lots of ways to deal with scary boards, right? You can freeze it, you can transform it. If they make something gigantic, these lists run solid alibis. I think it lines up extremely well into the Miracle Rogues, the heavy aggressive rogues that we're seeing, and the Boon Priests. And it even does reasonably well if you can time it right, at least with solid alibis against Quest Demon Hunters. If you know exactly when their turn is going to be, you can structure it in such a way that you can still find a way to win that matchup, although that would be a lot tougher.
Levik also being the only player to play the Sunwell in a deck that is not Boon Priest, by the way.
Spicy.
Levik has Sunwell and his Jackpot Rogue, his XL Jackpot Rogue.
I've seen that quite a bit last expansion. It seemed to have dropped out of favor on ladder, at least recently. But Sunwell can be anything.
Also,
it could find you the win condition you need.
Also playing the Secrets, Double Cross, Southern Perjury. Yeah, Perjury, Double Cross. And the Sketchy Stranger and 2 Private Eyes. I don't like Private Eye. I think a 4-mana combo to get you 2 secrets from your deck seems like it would be really good, but Rogue Secrets are like not really good, in my opinion.
I mean, the only secrets that are good for Rogue are Perjury, realistically, and that's because they can become an objection or some counter spell or some other really obnoxious mage secret. Like when you're playing that rogue deck and you play a Perjury, you almost don't even look at what the options are. Like you could
Yeah.
get a good hunter secret offered and a good paladin secret offered and a really bad mage secret offered, but you still pick the mage one because they know you're going to pick mage and they have to play around objection and counterspell. It's so irritating for the opponent. So
Okay.
like perjury is good. The rest of them,
D-
I mean, double cross is just like, okay, let's get a little bit more card draw. It's a 40 card deck. We can draw some.
There was a game. It was not with this deck. It was with Paladin, where I played the Countess, and the Countess got me Orion, and then Battle of Vicar
no.
got me a 1-mana Paladin secret, and then Orion cast Perjury, and then Perjury cast Objection, and then it was just a fiesta. It was a fiesta of stuff going on, and they rage quit because, I mean, why would you play that game?
Orion is a hilariously broken card when it works.
When it
because
is
it
in any other class.
When it's literally impossible to do anything against Orion if you don't have the exact right things in order to deal with it. It's just going to keep generating more secrets, and if they're the right ones, then GG.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Queen Ashara can, I think, one of the treasures can get a legendary, right? That costs 0 or 1.
Queen Ashara. I mean, well, there's like you can repeat a spell with Ajara, or are you talking about the 1-mana one that draws 2 cards and shuffles 5 in your deck? The main one that people pick is get a Colossal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Colossal.
You spend 3 mana on, get a random Colossal, and then that Colossal costs 1.
Okay, it's not.
And that usually that's usually what's run often in these rogue decks, specifically because you can get a non-rogue class Colossal, and then it's going to get recast off of Tess and or Stash. So you just get consistent broken value from these cards.
So, favorite for you, Dawn?
Like, to win it?
Favorite to win it.
Yeah, so I was talking about this on my stream because I kind of looked over these decks and stuff on my stream today. I didn't realize, I guess I somehow skimmed over that, but I had picked, I honestly feel like it's either going to be, I guess my 2 favorites are like Bunny Hopper or Blythe. Just because I feel, or maybe Habu Gabu, like those 3 are kind of similar, but if I had to pick just one, I would say Bunny Hopper because I feel like he has just been so solid lately. And I didn't realize it until Ron pointed it out earlier and I went, oh, Ron said dead draw, but they have the same lineup.
Yeah, same lineup.
Maybe like a couple of cards different, but I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And dead draw too, like, but some of these players, I think Bunny Hopper, dead draw, and Habu Gabu especially have had some really incredible, and Blythe would be like the 4 that kind of come to mind, have had like really hot streaks through some of the tournaments last year and this year. So they're kind of the ones that I'm like, okay, if they're gonna do it, I feel like it's gonna be them. Of course, all of these players have qualified, and this is the World Championship, so like we have to.
Yeah, I mean the field doesn't get more stacked than this.
Yeah, it's very stacked. Yeah.
Was just about to say this is a World Championship where I feel like I'm not missing anyone that I feel like should be here. Do you know how there's sometimes where like you're like dead draw should be here, or like Bunny Hopper should be here?
I mean, I would say Fury Hunter like immediately.
Okay.
It's actually like super disappointing. I feel like a major failure of competitive Hearthstone that Fury Hunter is not in this tournament, especially because he won a Masters Tour. Didn't he win 2? Like 2. This year?
Back to back, I think, right?
But he didn't do exactly well enough in this kind of qualification for Worlds to show up here. Outside of that, I would say that it looks like everybody absolutely belongs. It's not like I could pinpoint any one person here and say, oh, Fury Hunter should be in instead of this person.
Gotcha.
I feel like he absolutely should belong here.
100% forgot about Fury Hunter. Fury Hunter is definitely the one person that I think should be here and is not here. But other than that, I mean, you got Bunny Hopper to draw, Habu Gabu. You got your previous 2 world champions in Glory and Possessi. You've got Blythe. You've got the Chinese masterminds in Xiao Ti, Xiao Bai, and I think Yu Yi has been really good. I think LF Yu Ying is one player that I'm missing. Actually, are Zhao Bai and Zhao Ti, are they Chinese players?
As far as I know.
Okay, so LF Yu Ying is one player that I am missing. So Yu Ying and I'll say Fury Hunter. I think they both have had really high levels of play this year. But other than that, like I think this is a super duper stacked lineup. I was just looking at the groups. So Group A is Dead Draw, and then IGXC, Yu Yi, and Blaze. And I think Dead Draw is definitely the favorite to win that group. And then you have Group B, which is Xiao Ti, Xianming, Yarla, and Glory. I think Glory has the lineup for that group because, if I'm not mistaken, Xianming is playing the XL Ram Druid, which folds to the Aggro Druid. And then in Group C, you have Possessi, KGZ, XMG. I'm not familiar with that player, actually. Have you guys heard of that player?
I'm not super familiar with XMG, but I do think that their lineup is a very clever approach. It's one of the few like unique lineups, one of the only players who didn't bring Quest Demon Hunter and is going for a real aggressive style here with Aggro Druid, Pure Paladin, Boon Priest, and the Concoction Rogue. It's beat 'em up.
And then
I always like that.
Unfortunately, is in the same group as Mighty, who has just the like you're not gonna do your aggressive things lineup with like the Quest Priest and the Kazakhstan Paladin and the Ping Mage. So like I think XMG just got put in a bad group for what they brought. But I think that in this lineup, probably Possessor or Hobgabu probably comes out on top. I don't think Mighty's lineup is good here. Specifically because Habu Gabu also brought Quest Priest and kind of the you can't do stuff lineup, the controlling, I guess, lineup. And so, yeah, I think Mighty has the Paladin that just kind of gets caught off guard. I think the Order Lull Paladin is a little bit better than the Kazakhstan Paladin because it has a bona fide win condition. And I think that's the difference there. And then Group D, there's Pascoa, Bunny Hopper, Xiaobai, and Levick. And I think far and away, Bunny Hopper has the best lineup in that group. So I think our top four, or our top 8, if I had to guess, and we can mark this down. Actually, I'm gonna type this somewhere. Let me find somewhere to type this. My top 8 prediction. Ron, I'll let you speak while I pull up a notepad or something. Oh no, I have one here. Look at me having an actual physical
solid
notepad.
picks, though.
So I have Group 1 Dead Draw and XC. And then I have Group B will be Glory and Shouty. And then Group C, I have Habu and I think I'm still going with Mighty because I think Mighty has a lineup better than the other 2. And then at Group D, I have Bunny and was my other one Xiaobai or was it Pasco? Let me see. Oh, Pasco has the Pure Paladin against Xiaobai. And then against Levick. Oh no, I think Pascoa might have it with the Pure Paladin. I think that lineup is good. So I'm gonna say Bunny and Pascoa.
Solid.
So Dead Draw, XC, Glory, Zhao Ti, Habu, Mighty, Bunny, Pascoa are my top 8 competitors.
I dig it. For me, I'm looking at Dead Draw. I'm picking Dead Draw to win the whole thing because I really like his lineup the most out of everyone's, and it often would probably just come down primarily to lineups with players of this caliber, but you never know. Sometimes people are really tired, make different decision making chances here and there that might go off track. For the most part, I think we're going to see a lot of really clean play from all these players. So it comes down to just who had the best meta read. For me, that's dead draw. I kind of like Yuyi to get out of Group A as the second player. For Group B, I'm going with Xiao Ti and Glory. I do like Yarla's no Renathal allowed lineup. I wouldn't be surprised to see Yarla make it really ever. But these two, I think, are just a little bit better position, like lineup wise, and really, really strong players.
Wait,
Siding with, was that?
I just saw your rogue deck. Okay, you can keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm kind of continuing with the previous world champions picks and going with Possessi to make it out of Group C. The other one I think that makes it out is Habu. I really never want to count out Habu. Just a absolutely insane player, easily in the conversation for best Hearthstone player in the world right now, I feel. And then in Group D, I'm going Bunny Hopper and Xiao Bai. Although I'm very much rooting for Pascoa as the America's representative. Would love to see America's take one down, and Pascoa certainly would be the player to do it. But really tough field, and I like the lineups a little bit better for Bunny Hopper and Xiao Bai.
Pascal with the worst end of the sleep schedule stick also.
It's a little rough. A little rough for some of these players here.
I actually gave a little bit of favor to Europe because of the sleep schedule, because it starts at such an ideal time for them. Like they play through the day instead of
10 a.m. I think is when it starts for Europe.
9 or 10.
Or like if it's, London time.
Like at a real tournament time. Like you would start a tournament at 9, 10, 11, and that's when they'll be playing. So I think that's a good time for them to have their same sleep schedule. Don't have to alter anything.
Might have to a little bit. I mean, we are talking about, Hearthstone players who might be up till like 3 in the morning.
Fair.
And might want to sleep in past, 10 a.m. So adjustments may still need to be made across the board, but certainly more favorable to European players for the timing.
Yeah.
What about you, Dragonrider? You got any favorites for a top 8 or just an overall pick?
Yeah, I'm
You're
still
sticking with Bunny Hopper, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, Habagabu and maybe Bly's for me. Like, I don't know. I feel like they are just like they've been such consistent players in everything that I've seen them in, and I don't know. I'm rooting for them, but we'll see because I think is this their first Worlds appearance? I don't know if that will impact, with nerves or anything because
I think it's the first time Bly's made Worlds.
Yeah. Habagabu too, or did he play last year?
That I don't remember.
Habu did not play last year.
Okay. Yeah. And and of course, like I can't speak to that level of competition, but I can imagine that if they're trying to focus on doing well and if they play differently because of that or trying to get a certain amount of money or anything like that, then all of that can impact players. It's still online competition like they've been doing for a while now, so I suspect that there's probably a little bit less of that than if it were in person. This was like, an in-person event and they were sitting right across from the opponent. But yeah, I think those are kind of my 3 that I'm really looking at, is Bunny Hopper, Habagabu, and Bly's.
Okay.
I think that's a good point that you bring up, though. It can't be understated, like the level of pressure that
was the word
like
I was
Worlds,
looking for that I couldn't think of.
like specifically Worlds brings to someone, especially if this is their first appearance in Worlds. Like you've people who've already won, like Glory and Possessi, who are in this field. They've done it before. They might feel a bit more comfortable with it. And then you have people who are like, wow, everything is on the line right here, and I have to play the most perfect Hearthstone that I have ever played. and that's a lot of mental pressure. So there's a whole other aspect to this competition than just straight up, all right, sit down, sling some cards. I'm going to think about this turn for 5 seconds because hey, I have like this card and it fits with the mana, so I just play it, right?
That's Blythe.
we're gonna wait a little bit longer, maybe most of the field at least.
Blythe is like, all right, 2 seconds. I know what I'm doing. No need for
Yeah.
debate.
That's right.
We know that Pascoa and Bunny Hopper are not
Or-
going to be
Oh
making
no,
decisions
absolutely
in the
not.
first few seconds of their turns.
They will take their sweet time.
Yes. Well, thank you for doing that. I think that was a fantastic deep dive into that. So, hopefully, all of you at home were kind of taking notes, following along, and feel free to let us know what you think as well. Tag us on social media, let us know. But I think we should probably move into our next thing here. And that is our lightning round.
All right.
Yes. So Ron can probably see these show notes here. We have 4 lightning round questions that we have plugged in, and then we usually ask 1, maybe 2 more that aren't in here just to, keep our guests on their toes. But we do this lightning round. There are a couple of quick questions, just meant to be like your gut reaction, just the first thing that comes to your mind. It can be super, fast responses. So are you ready, Ron?
Ready.
All right, I'll kick things off and then Itachi and I will switch off asking. So, first question here is if you were a card from any of the card games you've played, I guess mostly just Hearthstone here, but which one would you be?
Deathstalker Rexar. Don't even need to think about it. It's my
Oh,
favorite card of all time.
God,
Instacrafted it gold
Chris.
when it came out. My absolute favorite thing to do in Hearthstone from like its inception was just make custom zombies. It was so cool. And yeah, that'll never change.
Gross. Favorite type or archetype of deck to play?
I mean, it kind of goes similar to that, but honestly, anything flexible. Anything that has a flexible game plan to where I can feel like my decisions actually matter. It usually would involve at least like a couple discover effects, um, and multiple different pathways that you can find to victory. So I don't like strictly subscribe to just one particular archetype. If I had to name a favorite, it's actually like probably a bit more linear because it'd be like the Death Rattle Hunter from back in the day that ran eggs and Katharina and all this broken stuff with
Ew.
cube and triggering death rattles.
Yes.
And then you just get to discover zombies along with the DK Rexar, which is my favorite thing. But when it comes to like the actual gameplay itself, as long as I can have variety of gameplay and not be in a super polarized matchup against multiple things, I can settle with having a polarized matchup against one thing, but ideally, not polarized at all, 50-ish plus percent against the entire field, and I can make a lot of complex decisions throughout the game that influence, like my skill determines whether or not I can win that game. That's my favorite kind of deck.
Say like the Patron Warrior.
I mean, I never played it myself, but I heard obviously that was like one of the most skill intensive and like testing decks.
Maybe more of like a math. It was more math intensive than
Math
skill
intensive,
intensive. But
yeah.
like, yeah, it was math intensive.
You can learn the processes and know, okay, I do these things in sequence and this sets up my way to win.
Yeah.
It's with any like heavy combo style deck, I feel like you get to just, okay, I do XYZ and then this, and if I memorize that and do this all the time, then it comes really easily and I just always pull off my combo. Then it doesn't even, like, it looks hard when you see someone do it, but it's not actually hard if you just have muscle memory on it. That I don't think is nearly as interesting as, like, I don't know, winning with a combo deck because you didn't have any of your combo pieces and you had to tempo your way to a win and then use your cards in a weird way to find the, like, narrow margin of victory that your opponent presented you just enough to get there because you chose like a unique line of play. Like that's the kind of thing that speaks to me.
I know that we're in lightning round, but that's the exact deck that like I appreciate. So like Baron's Rogue for me was that exact deck because it was like you had to make a decision with every single card. Like, is this Shadow Step going to be need to save for an Alexstrasza, or can I use it for Jandis for tempo, or like do I need to wait and use it for Tenwu to do combo? Like, what am I going to do with every
That was a
single
cool deck,
card?
yeah.
It was like, what am I going to do with this card?
Yeah.
Usually comes about in a little bit more lower power level formats, which is its own thing, and sometimes gets a little frustrating because you don't feel like the deck has enough lethality, but a lot of times those are really cool and interesting decks to play, which I like.
Yeah.
All right. Our next question is, what is one goal that you have for yourself in the card game sphere?
Goal's been the same for a little while now. I really want to, I mean, if we're saying, you know, no limits, I want to win a Masters Tour. I don't know if that's in the cards anytime in the immediate future, but I'm going to do my best to try to put myself in a position to get there. So those are the goals, and just gotta keep learning, keep improving every day. You know, play those qualifiers, and hopefully I can crack into it.
And what is your preference between physical or digital cards?
That I guess I kind of have like a split answer on that because it depends on the type of game. If we're talking, you know, like a collectible type game like Hearthstone, absolutely digital. Like it would always be digital for me. Like I would never want to play Magic the Gathering with physical cards. That sounds like an immensely difficult undertaking to like accumulate all of those cards. I'm sure it'd be really cool and it'd be cool to look at and fun to play with. The expense would be really high and like managing it all would be too much. But if we're talking like something like poker, I 100% would say physical over digital. I played online poker. I had fun playing online poker. I won tournaments doing that too, but it does not at all compare to the in-person experience, like the feel of the cards. Also, I mean, just the in-person experience to like read your opponent in a way that you really can't online and in a digital space.
Yeah. And so one non-listed question here for you. And it's not a question, it's more of an ask. I need you to say one nice thing about Anduin.
One nice thing about Anduin.
One nice thing about Anduin in the priest class.
That is a tough. That's your toughest question, honestly.
I can imagine. I got one more follow-up too, so just be prepared.
All right. I will say that Anduin is my 11th favorite hero in the game that you can choose. Out of all the class options, how am I trying to phrase? He's my 11th favorite class. We'll say
your
that. 11th favorite class. Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's positive, right?
That's sure. If you had to pick a favorite priest deck, which deck would it have been?
Oh, that one's actually easy. That's Dragon Priest from Gadgetzan.
Okay, sick. I love
that. That didn't even feel like priest gameplay. Honestly, it felt like a totally different type of gameplay, and it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Raza Priest was my favorite for the same.
Like, for instance, you know, I don't really like priest all that much, but it's not like I never play priest. I have about like 800 something priest wins.
How many 100 wins do you have?
Over 10,000.
Okay. Yeah.
Dang.
You know, every class is above 1,000 except for priest, which is kind of intentional, and obviously Death Knight, but that just came out. But I just like almost all those wins I think came off of Dragon Priest from Gadgetzan because I actually played a lot with that deck and it was cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, what Ron doesn't want us to know is that he's attempted 10,000 games with Priest. He's just only won 800.
Oh,
he hates the class as a result.
No.
Oh no, exposed.
No. Okay. All right, I've got one last lightning round question that's not on here. Because we haven't had any official stuff yet. If you had one wish for next year's Hearthstone esports system, what do you wish they would announce or have coming for next year?
We talking like realistic or just anything?
However you want to answer that.
No, I'll
You can
say
answer
two
both if
wishes
you
because
want.
one is something I know will never happen, but an actual in-client tournament mode. I would love that. I wanted that as many other players have wanted from like the inception of Hearthstone, but it's never coming. So it's unrealistic. It's not going to happen. They're always going to use Battlefy. But if I'm wishing, that's a wish. Um, Outside of that, the actual like esports competitive structure, I really want to see things like Worlds be more open to more players, especially like so we don't see a repeat of what happened this year where Fury Hunter wins Masters Tours and does not get invited to Worlds. I want to see like more total tournaments available, a larger prize pool, bigger investment in the game as a whole, and a way to involve um, more like a wider base of tournament players than what we're currently seeing, because we still see a pretty limited amount of high level players compared to how many I think are actually out there.
Oh, can I make wishes also?
Go for it, man.
Sure.
I have wishes based off of his wishes. One, I wish that competitive Hearthstone, the standard Hearthstone mode, would move back to Twitch.
Oh my god, I second that.
And two, I wish they would open up and also streamline the competitive process. So, like, if I go jump into Yu-Gi-Oh, right, not knowing anything about the game, there's local level events, there's regional level events, there's championship level events, and then every event tells you what it's doing. So, like, I won this. It is a world championship qualifier regional event. That gets me to the world championship qualifier national event. That gets me to the world championship. That's a very clear line, and it tells you in the tournament name what you're getting yourself into. If I'm playing a Yu-Gi-Oh championship series, that's not getting me to the world championship, but it is getting me a championship series national level event. So it's a very Magic the Gathering. Friday Night Magic is just me playing with my friends on Friday night. An invitational qualifier is qualifying me for the invitational. It's how I get my invite. So, like, everything seems so much more streamlined. And then Hearthstone seems like it's missing a step between like Bimmy doing a tournament or THL, which is kind of like your local quote unquote tournament. There's like the regional level tournament that's just missing. And then it skips straight to, which I guess is supposed to be qualifiers, but that doesn't like satisfy that niche. And then there's like the Masters Tour, which doesn't necessarily qualify you for Worlds, but it doesn't not qualify you for, you get what I'm saying? There's no fluidity to it, and it's kind of frustrating for a player to get in. Like, if I wanted to get into competitive Hearthstone and I didn't know anything, I would not know where to start. I would have no idea where to start. If you go to Blizzard's website, it's very confusing to try, even just to figure out what's happening in this weekend's tournament. The site is just a jump. It's like a cluster of stuff, and you have no idea what you're clicking on. So I don't like that. And then, like you said, tournament mode would be great because like I'm clicking around the Blizzard website, and then all of a sudden I'm on Battlefy, and I'm like, what is this place? And it's totally different. It's not the same site at all. So yeah.
Yeah, there's some barriers to entry, I feel, and it's a little bit disjointed in its like formatting and structuring. But to be fair, like at least there's a reasonably clear path of what you have to do to get to the top, which is just like, hey, you need to play qualifiers, and then you need to win qualifiers or do well enough in them that you can get into a Masters Tour based on, you know, your percentage of, you know, win rate. And then in the Masters Tour, if you really want to compete at Worlds, you probably have to win it. But even that doesn't quite get you there. So just win more games.
But
Like
even
just
then,
keep winning and don't stop winning, and you'll probably get it eventually. But
even
it's
then,
nebulous.
the dependency on the third party is, I guess, what I'm leaning on, like going away from. Because without Donkey, who would know what your win rate
Right.
was? You would have no one would have any idea if it were not for Donkey's website
Yeah.
where you stood in terms of qualifying. You would just be guessing.
I mean, even in terms of like lists for the World Championships, everybody just goes to Donkey's website. And, you know, that's just a guy who decided to do this because it wasn't being done.
Right.
And it was a
Yeah.
need that was identified for the community. So clearly there's been a little bit of a lack of focus from the Hearthstone team when it comes to like organizing competitive events in a better way. So I think those are good wishes.
Not
Hopefully
beating anyone
see some
from
of
the
them
Blizzard
come
team
about.
up. I know they work extremely hard. So not beating any of them up, just saying
Yeah.
that those are my quote unquote wishes.
Well, chat is now asking for mine because you both gave yours, so I have to give mine now.
Tell me yours.
Yeah, honestly, like you kind of touched on it, but this is something that I've been asking for years, and with the you have the qualifiers and then Masters tours and then ultimately, World Championship. I really wanted a tiered system. Initially, like for a long time, I said 3 tiers. I don't think that this was the way to do the 3-tier. Like, this is not what I had in mind for a 3-tiered system. A lot of the problems, like you both have kind of already addressed, like it being run through third-party stuff. It's kind of hard to find. It's hard to follow. And it's like you just don't really know what's happening. And they tried to add another like little step in through this year with the first 3 Masters tours leading to like was it spring or summer championship, and then the last 3, then they had the fall championship. But I would much rather see, I think, the like lower end tier added in instead of, because that was kind of a higher end tier. I would rather see a lower tier thing, which my ideal of that would be in-game tournaments, ultimately, where I think other games do this, where, right, you have an in-game system, you play, and then it's like, oh, whoever does well in these online things, then you're funneled into more stuff. And then from there, those build upon more. But I don't know, the qualifiers on Battlefy and stuff for me just have not really felt like that beginning tier. They still feel like you have to be really involved and understand that third-party system. You have to understand the tournament format, so you go from ladder in the game to, hey, I want to play competitively, and then all of a sudden it's not bring this deck you've been playing on ladder. It's, oh, you have to play 3 decks or 4 decks, and you're just like, I don't know what that means. What is a ban? I don't understand that. How do I do this?
You know what's a great place to learn how to do all that? THL.
That's right. But I don't know. Like, I feel like for me, like, that's kind of the point that I would like to see. I would like to see them develop a little bit more of that initial stepping stone for players, that kind of tier level that it feels like it's really missing.
That's a good point.
Nice wishes there, Captain.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, that brings us to where people can find Ron other than THL, but definitely THL, always THL, more THL. But where else can people find you, Ron? Please let us know.
All right. So I'm at Ron_HS on Twitter. And you can also search for RonMexico HS on Twitch. That is pretty much where I spend all my time, is between either Twitter or Twitch when it comes to like socials and an online presence. I've been streaming regularly, so every weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern for the foreseeable future is going to be my stream schedule. I postponed it a little bit tonight, but I'll be, of course, streaming after finishing this recording tonight, and then just going back to the regular schedule for tomorrow, and continuing on through question mark. I guess we'll see what happens, but gonna keep the streaming thing going for a while, and I also post on Twitter every time I'm going live.
Well, sick. You can also find Ron on Discord at priestlover420.
I would not recommend people actually try to add that. I don't know who that is, but
I think that's Itachi's handle, actually. I think it's one of his alts.
No, mine is Sylvanus's side bay.
Solid.
Yeah, it's good too. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week, Ron. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on and chat about all those world decks.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a good time.
Yes, Ron, thank you. I appreciate you coming on. Don't forget, guys, check out that Inked Gaming affiliate link. Also, enter with affiliate code that was found earlier in the podcast. Tweet it at us at twitter.com/TCCG Roundtable. So, yeah.
Yeah. And thank you, all of you, for joining us as well. If you or someone that you know would like to be on the show, or if, there's someone, a personality, a competitor, streamer, anybody that you would like to see us have on, please reach out to us, give us some recommendations. You can email us at tccgroundtable@protonmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/tccgroundtable. Use that top pinned tweet to jump into our Discord, or find that Discord link in the show notes, and check out the video version of the show. If you're listening on audio, check out the video version as well. You can see me laughing hysterically through half of the show while these two banter back and forth. You can check that out on my personal YouTube, youtube.com dragonrider TCCG. Of course, everywhere you can find audio podcasts, and then of course check out that Inked Gaming affiliate link as well. And you'll be able to find some links for both Itachi and myself as well. But that is going to do it for this week. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you at the roundtable.
Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.